Welcome to No Crime, No Time. I'm RD, also known as Rubberducky. I have Maya with me, who is my pug and snores. This is blackout, so your screen is black. There's nothing to view. It's just having a little chat with you. And I wanted to go over some things about Brendan Dassey today, as I've seen an influx, like a huge swelling of interest in the Stephen Avery Brendan Dassey wrongful conviction case. And so those that are trying to understand everything and get a grasp of what the hell is going on, we're just going to have to start sharing those that have of us that have been there through the beginning. I've been in this since 2003, before there was a Teresa. Um, I was a local, and I was well aware of Stephen being released from the Stanley prison, as I was just a few miles from there when that was happening in 2003 from the exoneration of his first wrongful conviction. So naturally, I saw the whole thing play out. But I want to skip forward now to the question that was put out there. I saw someone make a comment along the lines of, this should all be over because all they needed to do was give Brendan Dassey a polygraph test. So I wanted to kind of go over some things about this whole situation as to how twisted this case really is, how many layers there is. So one of the things that you should know is Brendan Dassey was given a polygraph test. He agreed to it without a problem, no problem whatsoever. And Lynn Kaczynski at the time was Brendan's lawyer. And he told Brendan that he had failed the polygraph test. So you can kind of get a drift already of the situation we're sitting with, because what lawyer is going to undermine your case by telling you that you failed a polygraph test that you actually passed with flying colors? Now, Lynn Kaczynski wasn't the only bad apple in the basket. He also was working with O'Kelly. So O'Kelly is the one that was in charge of getting Brendan to put a written confession together that matched what came out of the interrogation by Wiegert and Factbender with Brendan's alleged confession. I say alleged confession because it was an interrogation using reeds with a highly suggestible child that had learning difficulties. Now, some things that kind of come up for me that just come to mind when I'm thinking about this whole way that the law enforcement manipulated Brendan, when if he had had a good lawyer, he would have never been able to be held. Um, First of all, just because I tell you there's cookies in the cookie jar doesn't make there be cookies in the cookie jar. It's understanding that there's some complications with the lack of evidence when something actually doesn't take place, such as there is no DNA of the victim on Brendan's clothing, his coat, or his shoes that he wore. Now, you might want to go with the other side of the coin. Well, there was bleach and everything. Okay. So the jeans would be white, because you're not going to be able to splatter bleach exactly where blood goes every time. If you take another case to compare, which is the Darlie Routier case, you can see that there are tiny spatters of blood, and they're so tiny, and they can hardly even get a DNA result from it, because it's an uncontrollable spatter of when somebody is stabbing someone. So if Brendan had actually stabbed Teresa, as the police are trying to say he did in this case, there would be evidence of this action on the clothing that he wore. If he had actually shot the victim 11 times, there would be blood splatter or spatter all over Brendan. Not just on his clothes, but also on his shoes because of gravity. And then, where's the DNA of the victim on Brendan? How does he not have any victim DNA on the pants? Or no victim DNA on the shoes? And I'm talking even sperm or anything. The way they work that, the law enforcement, to get into Brendan's home to acquire the pants, if you will, it all goes sideways in a way that reveals so much to how this case was mishandled and should have been a mistrial from the get-go with Brendan especially. Such as Brendan being 16, which is a minor, after the interrogation where his alleged confession was acquired, which we can get into that on that's a whole nother rabbit hole, okay? The investigators immediately begin to pump Brendan to get him to give permission for them to enter his mother's home to retrieve the pants that Brendan supposedly was wearing at this time. Now, Brendan does give this permission, but it's interesting how the police continue to re-question him to get him to answer 3 yeses. We can go in the home. They have no search warrant, and they have no one but a minor allowing them in the home. Okay? It's not just that they got in the home without a search warrant. It's not just that they went in and used Brendan to get what they call evidence, alleged evidence. These pants, they never get tested. They don't look for the victim's DNA and report, no, there's no DNA. There's just nothing done with these pants. They show them, but where are the lab results that show? And they report there is none. So how did Brendan murder this woman by stabbing her and shooting her and raping her and magically have no DNA from the victim on him? Nor does he have anything showing that being transferred into his own home or on any of his belongings. So when you look at the situation as well, if you literally have to take this individual's confession as it's stated, Brendan has also stated that he does not know what to answer to them. He couldn't think of the answer when they were asking him what happened to her head, referring to the victim. The police had to volunteer the information. If you have the real person and you're going to call it a confession, it really needs to come from the person's mouth for it to hold validity. Because if you're giving them the answer and then, pressuring and manipulating them and not allowing them the right to leave, to even go back to class or anything, without representation of a lawyer, a parent, a guardian, a school counselor, no one. This child's on his own. He's in IEP, which is for special learning children. And yet they not only get this alleged confession, but now they're in the home. And what do? Factbender goes into the home and accompanies Brendan. Staying on the exterior of the home is Investigator Wiegert, who has been recorded. He is being recorded the entire time while he's on a phone call. And guess who he's calling? Not Calumet County, Manitowoc County. And what are they doing? They're taking Brendan to Manitowoc County Sheriff Department. Right there, we've got a problem, because Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department has stepped the line with a suspect that is also directly being charged in a crime with another person that's being sued. Do you see? So they have great advantage in manipulating this individual for their own advantage to win the court case. And where is Brendan being taken? right to the individuals that are personally being sued. So, he gets taken to Manitowoc County. Now, I'm not here to judge anyone, but Brendan's mother has been on record many times stating she could not locate her son, that she went to this place and that place, the fire department, sheriff's department, and it took her forever to figure out that Brendan was at Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department because, as she stated, why would he have been there? I thought Calumet County was handling the case. Kind of gives you the idea that regardless of what has been said or stated in many other ways of character assassination or judgment on parenting of Brendan, right? It holds true because she could not find him. So by the time she gets to him, he is now surrounded by law enforcement, and she is told, it's over. It's over. There's nothing you can do. He's confessed to everything willingly, readily. Now, Lincoln Chinsky had made some notes in one of the future interrogations with Brendan. And at the bottom of the notes, Brendan's lawyer wrote about the pictures that he supposedly showed to Brendan Dassey. And one of them he noted, picture or photo of body, measurements, and dig site. Did you catch that? Body, measurements, and dig site. Why is he showing that to Brendan? Is it possible that they convinced Brendan that if Brendan lied and said he helped Stephen do this because Brendan was a child, he wouldn't get in any trouble, but they could then get Stephen put behind bars because Stephen had killed her? And if he didn't believe that Stephen did it, they'd show him a picture of the body, the measurement, and the dig site? Is that a possibility? Now think of this. When you think of body, measurement, dig site, first thing that pops in my head, Cuss Road. So let's stay tuned tomorrow and see what happens with what we talk about on Cuss Road. I love you, Brendan Dassey. I love you to the moon and back.